Yo, 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 what's happening, folks? Cheers. How's your day starting out? I hope you're all having a great experience in the metaverse. And you're finding fun things to do and talk about. I gotta fix another amp today. I'm gonna put a original speaker back in the amp I'm gonna sell, and then I'm gonna take the Celestion Blue out of it to keep for a different amp I want to put it in. So I'll be tinkering around with that. I got my my fret press all set up. So I'm pretty stoked about that. I can't really show that to you at this moment because it's over here. I'll do that in a second. But you know, one thing that I did want to touch on was this whole concept of the panelverse. And what that's become and what it's becoming, and the productiveness of it or lack thereof. How it's become the town square, so to speak, for the miscreants. But also the thinkers, you know. It seems like there's something going on with this technology, folks. There's something going on with it. To where anything that's grounded and rooted in peace and tranquility and actualized self-realization, where the life purpose is on point, it seeks to distract and defeat and take that down. Which I think is a sad thing, you know. It's not like the channels that are really skills oriented or trying to help young men find a purpose, find a vision, and actually figure out how to do something that's fulfilling, are really the ones that get the momentum. See, they'll disguise it with these thought leaders that are all about building corporations. And you'll see them be the movement of something that sounds similar to that. But what you find out is the underlying root driving motivator is the monetization. And people yesterday were like questioning me on, well, why was I summarizing it as monetization, as if I need to go into all these other things that encompasses, as if the love of money is not enough to pervert a man. Not that I need to go much further. I mean, is it not just apparent through observation? But the point being, the idea is not to do. See, here's the problem: is if you're in such financial dire straits that you're robbing Peter to pay Paul, and you can't even get a foundation enough to even see that kind of vision, that, boy, I could just do what I wanted and what I was really passionate about, and that would be enough, and I would be satisfied with that. No, because the amount of debt, the amount of overwhelming things that supersede that are paramount. They're on the front burner, and that's the shit that is your identity, and it's a noose around your neck. you know, that stage is brutal because that just requires extreme discipline and pedal to the metal fucking banging your head against that wall doing what you don't want to do so you can eventually do what you do want to do. And there's a number of scenarios there. Some people may have to bankrupt themselves. I don't know what your particular scenario is, but you know, if you've created a shitstorm for yourself and you have any integrity, you're going to have to dig yourself out of that at some level, you know, and take accountability, which sucks, but it is what it is, right? Once you get past that milestone, and there's a lot of ways to go about that, right? I mean, you could just take the snowball effect with Dave Ramsey and put that in place tomorrow, and you're going to get a good result. It's a cause and effect. You're not, you know, you don't need to reinvent the wheel. But what is your vision of happiness? Like, do you need an opulent lifestyle where you have a bunch of fancy trinkets and you have all kinds of things to look at? Or could you live a simpler, meager, more modest lifestyle? Could nature be the thing that you really want to look at? And would that be enough? Even if it's a desert in a flat plot somewhere where, you know, conditions are harsh or whatever, or way on top of a mountain or what, you know, it's not going to be that convenient, safe, and easy lifestyle, but it's going to refine you. It's going to challenge you. It's going to inspire you if you let it. It's going to beat you down at a certain point and expose your weaknesses and show you what that city lifestyle or mentality did to you as a being, and what that corporate ass grind, you know, just running on the hamster wheel, fucking chasing that bitter carrot, being the just mouse in the maze, trying to reach goals that other people set for you for what, you know? For your own demise, really. Because if it wasn't from the heart, what did it matter, you know? How did it serve you or anyone around you? It wasn't sustainable. And that is the corporate model. It's an unsustainable model. Essentially, the profits before people model, you know, it's leading to an idea that success at all costs, which is measured in monetization, is the only real value in our society. Families don't matter. Art doesn't matter. Skills don't matter. We got robots for that. Opinions don't matter. Thoughts don't matter. We got AI for that. Entertainment doesn't even actually matter at the core. It's all being diluted as if everything that makes you human can be provided for you by a computer, and then somehow that leads to a meaningful existence for you. I just scratch my head and wonder, you know, is not humanity as a whole just playing into that slippery slope of our own demise? And you know, of course, duh, where have you been? But at the same time, how often is that conversation really exposed and articulated and dug into a bit to see, are there things you can do to counter that? Are there ways that you can actually go about this existence while maybe not necessarily being able to change the macro, because I think that is pretty pie in the sky bullshit. Like, if you're just an average Joe with a moderate level of influence or minuscule at best, then you're not even a cog on the wheel of their system. You're a byproduct of it, as far as they see it. You don't have any say in that. Go fucking vote and act like you have a voice in their system, and tell me how that works out for you. I'm waiting to hear back on the stellar results that you all get, left or right, running into the polls like I'm going to vote myself out of this mess. Jesus criminy. All right, I got to find something here. make sure this goes through the hole so I'm not... Oh yeah, that's not going to be the right size. What the hell was I thinking there? You know, and I think what a lot of men have figured out is we don't need that much to be happy. A simple, basic, peaceful life where you have the space to pursue the things that motivate you, that get you out of bed early, so you're, you know, whether there's money there or not, you're going, that's what I want to do. That's what I've done for the last 15 years. And I don't have any regrets about that. I had a lot of insecurities and fear about it to move into that, because there's not a safety blanket or, you know, any assurance, medical guarantees, all that kind of shit. And it's not always been easy, and there's been some dicey points. But, you know, it's like I went into construction because I wanted to learn construction. So I was the motherfucker showing up early, always at the job, ready to go. And I'm older than some of these cats, but I'm coming in raring and ready. I'm there for a purpose, right? I really want to learn the trade. So I might have been staining siding on some house. By the way, some of the settings were beautiful settings I was working in. So it wasn't that just grunt and bear it, terrible kind of circumstances. On occasion it would be. New construction, I got into where I was, you know, just spraying the entire inside of houses, priming them out, and putting a base coat on everything. Awful work. Doing a bunch of doors, 25, 30 doors at once. Polyurethane, or wasn't nitrocellulose. I'm trying to remember what that shit was called. Just disgusting. You'd be breathing it out of your nose. But if I was on a job doing stain work, I was over chatting the carpenter up. Because really, I wanted to learn carpentry. And so before you know it, he'd be spelling all kinds of stuff out for me and helping me with projects I'm on. Or I'd be wanting to learn masonry. Before you know it, I have a mason guy. He'd be helping me do the work on my house or my cabin or whatever, you know, piece of real estate I was working on at that point. Indispensable knowledge. Like, if you're not the kind of person who can't find mentors and employ them and their wisdom and knowledge at some level, if you're not that kind of person who can go in and create those alliances through just being a decent person, affable, and communicating with people, then you just missed out on life. And that just means when the old fucker at the whatever it is, baseball game or the library or the, you know, you're going about is chatting your ear up, and all of a sudden you find out he knows a ton about woodwork and lives in your area. You're not afraid. Like, I met a guy at McDonald's, knew a ton about guns in my local area 10 years or so ago. I don't really talk to him much, but every once in a while I got a question about something. A valuable person to know, you know, just for whatever. Knows about knives, knows about, you know, it's just like, I remember I had never even heard of a Benchmade knife until my neighbor Mike told me, this is all I will carry. And he flipped it out, and I looked at that thing and the precision of it, and just, if you like attention to detail and you appreciate something well made that you're going to use every day on a multitude of tasks, and is like motivates you to do more things, because if you're out in nature or whatever, and you're just always prepared, you have a system, you have a good Leatherman, you have all the tools in it. In mine, I put a little extra light, I put a little extra Swiss Army knife, so I had the tweezers, and I got and I can do all kinds of shit with what's in my pocket or what's in the center console of my car. And it's decent tools. I like living that way. I couldn't stand the corporate world where everyone was a slave to the system and it's just constantly running through the services of others that you don't understand, where you become dependent. That never made sense to me. It wasn't intuitive. It didn't seem like a natural process. Seems like you should learn from those people and then employ it in your own life. That should be education, right? I mean, if we're taught anything in the school system, shouldn't we be taught to be resourceful, figure out how to solve our own problems, so then we could help others solve their problems? If we genuinely have the space and the capacity to do that at any level. And I understand the thing about help where there's all kinds of motivations, but you see an old timer that's got something to offer and he's willing to share. And I've noticed something about old timers where back in the day it was like any old timer would have lent a hand. Old timers now are more discerning. They're looking for a willing participant that actually wants to learn something. So you kind of got to show them that, it's like you go and you see a guy, he's got a third property out in the fucking country that's 80 acres with a gigantic house and a work shed that's 3 times the size of your house. And some guys would be intimidated about that, right? They're not going to start chatting him up. Maybe they came to buy a fucking sander, a bandsaw or something. And, the guy just takes them for a ride because they're not good with money and he is. And it's like, they're getting ripped off on the bandsaw and that guy's heading out of there. He didn't even negotiate. And the rich guy got even less respect for him. It sucks they think that way, but at the same time, that might just be the way it is. It's like this guy can't even help himself. The other guy doesn't even negotiate, but then the next guy comes in, he negotiates. He don't even want to buy the thing because he realizes it's not a good deal. No, I'll pass. Starts chatting up like, now how did you do this? Well, and if the guy's willing to talk and he's not cutting you off, he's not short, you may not want to do business with the guy because you can already tell he's a bit of a scumbag. Or maybe you do, maybe he's a great guy. But you're sizing him up, you're learning something, and in the process, if he's just willing to run his mouth, you learn something, right? You figure out how he got to where he is, and he might break the whole fucking thing down for you. Before you know it, you're in his house, he's showing you on his computer all the things he's investing in, what he's doing here. And you're going, yeah, I could do that. Maybe I could see how that worked, but I don't even want to do that shit. That looks disgusting to me. You're a miserable old man, you fucker. But you learn something from that, right? It's all your discernment. Or maybe you see something there. You're like, fuck, I've been a stubborn, obstinate fool for all these years, and I could have looked at that advice and probably been in a much better position now if I'd have considered some of those things. How much are you willing to play with the system? How much do you want to play with the system? How loud of a voice do you want to have? How much do you want to be engaged in a bunch of people's agendas? Or do you want to be someone that's observing, soaking in knowledge, and then executing, employing it, putting it to work? That's going to require you to have the space to be able to put your energy into the next great thing in your mind. Which, if you're going to drive the ship, so to speak, or drive the boat, I would think you'd want to have a role in that. But if you're so busy you can't even talk to that guy to get that knowledge and wisdom, or being a discerning enough a being to see there's something special in front of me, or this is a complete waste of time. I don't know about y'all, but I get ultra inspired by people that are really good at shit. You know, that just have done something their whole life and found that level of mastery where they're just unstoppable. You know, that's an inspiring and a motivating thing. It's not the path I would choose. I'd rather be a jack of all trades because that monotony through my self-awareness is not how I'm wired. You know, I'd rather know a lot about a handful of things, not everything, but just the stuff that I'm drawn to, that I resonate with. To sit there and have to, you know, if I had to work on guitars every single day for 12 hours a day, that's what it's going to take to probably get on that level, right? But at the same time, there is a diminishing return. Do you really want to be someone that all you do is one function? Because that will make you the slave to all these other functions that you don't understand. And so I don't think it's often presented to us in our upbringing that you don't have to necessarily, there's a different way, you know. You can actually find a lot of efficiencies and a lot of economic positive outcomes through just not paying for the service, not being stubborn to that point where it's, I will not hire a plumber, I will not hire an electrician, I will not hire someone to come out and insulate my house and do a poor job and spray foam in it, and when I could have actually went in there and it needed drywall repaired inside anyway, I could do the greater project because the materials weren't that much, it was all labor. Now I can really get that thing done right, and it was just my time. The problem with it is learning these things takes a lot of time. So if you're not patient, you're not disciplined, you're not willing to put in exponentially more energy than it would have taken to just go pick up the phone and hire some asshole, then you don't ever get to that liberation state where it all comes full circle and it's now, I have all the tools, you know. I don't need to worry about getting on someone's schedule. I got to source the part, get a quality part for a good price, and install it. They don't want us to live that way. That's why it's not promoted to you. That's why all the vehicles are being changed over to where there's no manuals. They're trying to make parts proprietary to computers where you would have to hook up a $2,000 computer just to change your brakes. That's not the lifestyle that a liberated man who says he has any kind of concept of freedom would want to embark on. You just wouldn't want to put yourself in that position. You'd rather have a horse and buggy kind of scenario where at least it's reliable. It may not get you there as fast. So the more it pushes that direction, the more that counter of people like me say, no, I would rather, I would always be the last of the Mohicans, but I would encourage the next generations to do the same thing. Reject that. Don't accept some kind of vehicle that you can't repair. And if that means all the old vehicles become a huge premium to where it's 30 grand for an old Toyota Camry, you know, from 1998, or a Honda Accord or whatever it is, because people value that ability to just have something that top to bottom they can fix that's not over computerized. You know, is the will of the people that strong? Of course not. So that's just pie in the sky too. I'm just fucking blowing smoke with that. That ain't gonna happen. Like, I can say that till I'm blue in the face. It ain't happening. So, you know, but there will be a remnant of people who just refuse. if it gets to that point, I truly believe I have the conviction I would strand myself or walk or hitchhike before I got one of these overly computerized vehicles. I can't see myself willingly doing that unless I had, I mean, it was just like that's, I guess, what I had to do. Maybe for a family member or something. That would be the justification. Yeah, it's wild. It is really wild the way it has all gone. But in any case, all right, let me get on this here. Stop faddling around. I'm gonna need these, so I'm gonna leave those out. Oh man. Oh no, it's fine. I thought for a second the cone had gotten pressed in, but apparently that's from the factory. It's flat there. Oh, and the thing I was going to say about the Activerse is keep in mind, if you put someone on a stage, there's typically going to be some theatrical element to it. Everybody that does public speaking and that wants to get good at it at any level, like, I guess if I was supposed to create some sincerity in a speech, right, I want to look right into the eyes and I'm going to have these mannerisms, and people will employ neuro-linguistic programming and these different tactics of repetition and rhythm and nuance to be able to like reel people in and captivate an audience. I mean, yeah, there's a sub-psychology to mirroring and sales and how to win and influence people and all this stuff. And then it's like, is there just a real motherfucker who has some insight into maybe how to go about a few things? I'd rather be the latter in that. You know, it's like I'm not really trying to do anything in any sort of way other than to just share my thoughts in a transparent and genuine way. And I've tried to get better at that over the years, where it's just let it flow of what might be of value. And just setting that premise at the outset, this is what I'd like to say that I think could actually provide some perspective on things. We should be able to understand that freedom of speech allows for all of these controversial and somewhat vitriolic type of behavior that we see. We should be able to understand that freedom of speech allows for extreme cringe factor. We should be allowed to understand that freedom of speech goes beyond the boundaries of our comfort zone. But what I think we missed along this is that freedom of speech does not really matter if the algorithm is controlled by something other than something that the people have a true influence on. And even with that argument, if the insanity of the people is so far that they actually don't have a cognitive grip on reality enough to see what tyranny is, and they would actually just vote for their own demise anyway. That was the whole idea of a republic, right? That we don't have this ability to take someone's fundamental rights away. But instead of talking about right and left, I think what could be something that would actually bring people together, so to speak, in productive communication would be, what are the rights of the people and why do we agree they're rights? Even in the most divisive and separate views on it, get past the politics and just, hey, how do we view each other as people, of what would be acceptable boundaries of how we interact with each other, and what do we see as the limits of so-called, where can the common ground be on the limits of so-called human rights that we're collectively agreeing on? I think that would be the more important conversation at this point, because I think technology has to be, at this point, with how far it's come and where it's gotten and where it's obviously going to, we have a responsibility as humanity, if we're going to say we're producing this and we're part of this and then we're going to consume it, that it reflects our fundamental morality, values, rights, principles, how we can coexist but also live productively. So, the family unit might need to be taken into account with that. But we can't do that unless there's a common ground of people that actually do represent the common man, that would be like a jury of peers, so to speak, to say, this is actually the direction we want society to go. And the reason I say that has to happen is because at a macro level, because I think there's a lot of things that need to happen at the micro level, but if there was ever to be a solution, so to speak, with this technology, you can see how infiltrating, all-encompassing, identity-driven, social credit score even is already in the States, right? If it's going to have that level of power and it's an inevitable certainty and nobody has any say in it, again, you're just walking to your own demise. If you're going to play with the beast, you would at least have to tame the beast and put some reins on it and say where you want the beast to go. You're going to try to fucking tame a lion or an unchecked wild animal, because in the world of technology, that's what AI is mostly, right? It's surpassing the supposed inventor's own comprehension of what it is and what it can do and how fast it can progress. But how would we expect it to have a good result if there's no compass or basic directives on what humans stand for at any fundamental level? I would think Americans would be the first to step up and say, no, this has to represent our Constitution. If Americans supposedly believe we have something better than the rest of the world when it comes to human rights, self-preservation, and creating a less tyrannical society, a more free state, because I think most of us admit we can't get away from the state. Even the most, I guess, the most dedicated anarchist is still going to come up with some organized effort to overthrow the state, which is just another state thrown over state. So you're not going to get away from, quote, governing of the mental. And what's happening is the current government is being usurped by technology. And that's quickly becoming the authority that we're all going to have to report to. And it's already happening. So, I mean, at that level, if there was a basis for creating that foundation to it, that would actually be beneficial for society. I mean, you can look at the glass half full or half empty. If you see the capability of the technology, it could do amazing things. Could be absolutely incredible. And I sometimes wonder if people don't agree at a core level more than they disagree. If they really had to come to a directive on how they would want society to look with these sort of things. I don't think the majority is necessarily what we're presented. I think that's always just been some kind of bullshit propaganda media thing. So I don't think we've ever got really an accurate picture of what humanity wants or what they would actually care about if they had to sit down and think about it. But perhaps I'm wrong in that, because you hear guys like Andrew Wilson or, some of these other far right guys saying the woman shouldn't be able to vote. That's basically her voice has corrupted it because her emotions causes her to. There should be one vote for the family. Yeah, I don't know. I don't necessarily believe that it's true that even that women can't see this too. I think women can see it right alongside with men. I think there are awakened women that are hip to the game, just like there's awakened men who see we've been duped, we've been divided, we've been conquered through our own lack of self-awareness and through our own dedications to things that did not lead to the right result. It eroded the family unit. It eroded the communal type of ties. It eroded the neighborly, friendly type of experience that previous generations, not far off, were having, because there was more common decency and common respect. Wasn't perfect, but there was a lot more faith in the quote system, and maybe that was just short-sighted and it was naive. But as someone who's seen the timeline progress, I think there was a lot more reason to have faith in the system when I was a kid than there is now, because there was so many other great men around at that point, especially if you lived country life at any point or in a small town. You got to experience men that stood for something. Now they've all died off, and so that voice has become lower and lower. But yeah, even back just when I was young growing up, there was a lot more reason to actually get behind some of these concepts that are espoused, because the men around you, even if they were duped and deceived at a certain level, they did stand for something. It was like they had boundaries. Now the boundary is what the AI is telling us it is, what the technology is telling us it is, and we're going to all have to concede to that at some level. Unless you can tell me there's another way. I think they'll quickly make the argument the AI is a better administrator of truth than the human when it comes to being unbiased, neutral, and having a steady hand with execution of ideas, because it doesn't have that human aspect of emotion. And so again, if it's going to make the choice, you'd think we'd want to be damn sure as humans what that choice is. And the problem is it's already making the choice. And nobody voted on it, nobody thought about it, nobody talked about it. It was just delivered to us as a consumeristic product that data mined us, reverse analyzed us, and now wants to go deeper with that. Yeah, like I say, I could use my drill for this, but I just don't want to scratch any Tolex. Yeah, but are all these people actors? Am I an actor? Well, I understand why they people could be paid actors, they could be agents, they could be some kind of installed distractor, Hegelian dialectic, you know, or even just sent to obfuscate. But I also know that I also have the delusion of thinking that my opinion could matter, or that I would have an idea of how to fix things or make things better, just like some of these people I completely disagree with. I mean, I could criticize Jack Talcott all day and say, Jack, you're a paid shill, you're a government agent. You can't be that stupid to think your ideas are actually going to solve any problems. Yet, if I'm completely honest, in my own challenging of my own ideas, I come full circle to where it's like, well, what he says about government secrets is pretty fucking bullshit. Like, it really does fuck up a society to trust people that they're supposedly going to do the right thing when they constantly show you over and over again they're not, and they're going to have all these secrets on humanity and society, and we're all supposed to just be here going, yeah, that right man for the job, He's got this. I don't need to know what the fuck's going on. Let him handle all the bigger pictures of my existence. He'll be honorable with it. So Jack's right. And do I want fucking war? No. I don't want war. I don't want it. But do I think there's things worth fighting for? Of course. I heard something like people said there's laws going through, I think it's some state, where they're not going to allow kids to go on the internet. And I'm sure there's people that would say, well, you're just disadvantaging that child. The technology exposes them to so much information that can enhance their development, and if properly guided, the internet is an amazing tool to help in the education of the child, yada, 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 on and on and on. And some other person will say, absolutely fucking not. A kid that's out in nature, that's constantly working in a manual fashion, learning how to solve problems through experiment in nature, right? Or climbing on a jungle gym and hitting his head and sliding down the slide and going to swim or do whatever, swim in a river preferably. A natural lifestyle. This would be so much healthier. Yeah, I gotta get a socket set for that. But who cares? Like, you're gonna let NVIDIA fucking educate your child? Are you fucking stupid? Like, I mean, of course, yeah, we don't want our kids on the internet. We wouldn't want them on there unless they're doing something productive and it's being monitored, right? So that you actually see this is the shit you're letting them do. Like, Johnny, you can get online. Here, you can have this amount of fuck off time, just talk with your friends, do whatever. You can have this amount of time where you're going to research uh, how to play your bass better, or how to do your football better, or how to, exercises for this, or so that it's all skills oriented. It's all information, intel downloading that then they can actually take and use in their real life. And I think creating that habit would be super valuable for these kids, right? Yeah, we can't control you off hours, kids. If you're going to have an education system surrounding the technology, when they're at school, it would all be around, of course, doing things that they resonate with, that they want to learn and get better at. Basic skills too, right? I mean, you might have to know how to communicate at a certain level, but a lot of the shit they teach you, even with the technology now, is not going to help you enhance your life or create a better life for you. It's not going to help you create a good family. That's insane. So, I mean, I guess at that level, why can't there be things coincidingly to the technology now of these break-off societies, if you want to speak to something along that level, like a Amish, and then there's the Mennonite that has a little more technology. Well, maybe there's even versions beyond that say, hey, we're going to embrace the technology, but we're going to actually make this technology work for us. We're going to make this shit have boundaries and have set parameters so that it makes our communities flourish. And wasn't that the American experiment anyway? So you have a community stand for something and have a basic consensus on how we're going to move forward with this, and then you try that experiment. Like, maybe just hands off the reins, free for all. Let's fucking let NVIDIA be our Lord and Master is not the best way forward. Maybe we could be a little more due diligence, a little more consideration to how we're going to move forward with all this. I thought that was the right size. Oh, it's just a long... No, that should work. That is the right size. I don't know why that wasn't going on there. I think it just was just long enough. It was going through the little hole that the 1/4-inch socket fit into. While I'm in here, I'll look at the chat now. Let's see what we got going on here. This is my problem, is I work so slow when I'm on here. If I come on here and do this, I need to get better at twerking his skills too. Oh, Powdered Dusty, what's happening? Indie Groove. Pun intended. Right? But yeah, so I have the delusion that God gave me the gift of the basic ability to solve a problem. And I'm arrogant enough to think, man, I could solve these problems so much better than these fucking clowns. If you made me Lord and Master tomorrow, I'd be so much better at empowering people and creating a free society. And I'm not even smart. It's like I'm a dumbass. But yet, maybe I'm not, Maybe I'm not as dumb as I think I am. Because I've done some stupid shit, and I do not consider myself the sharpest tool in the shed. Now, the sharpest tool in my shed is probably... is probably not this knife, but that's a cool fucking knife. Like, that's fucking badass. Yeah, Powdered Dusty coming in, $5 with a super chat. I just set that shit up. Look at me grifting. Fucking Big money coming in, $5, Powder Dusty. I appreciate that. This is a hungless Randall's Adventure and Training, made in the USA. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing at this point. Many of us are out of touch with reality, i.e., the virtual. Jack's Delusion 2. And I ain't seen no one point out how yet, and I ain't his or any other hucklebearer. All right, Mr. Miyagi, cool your jets, man. Making me nervous. If properly guided. You got to fight for your right to party. I get it. I get it, Indie Groove. You got to create that space. Yeah, Powder Dusty, you were tying one on last night. I caught that. You were having some fun, weren't you? But yeah, I do keep this razor sharp. And I don't use it very much. It's fun, though, to get out there and fuck around with it. I put on a new grip to it, too. And that grip is sweet. That's my shit hit the fan knife right there, you know? If all bets are off and it goes to mayhem, that's it there. Actually, I got a better one for that. Where's my other one? I got a better one for that. Let's see here. And what a great sheath, too. You know? Isn't that fantastic? Really nice. I got my fire starter on there. You see, I never used that. I used it like once. It works good. You always know a knife poser when he pulls his knife out and it's barely used, right? Now this is more my everyday. This is sharp. This is a Arachneve, which is sweet as steel. And smaller knives are easier to get super sharp anyway. My fishing version of this knife is probably sharper than this, but that's not actually in here. So this is probably my sharpest tool in the shed. But yeah, that's razor sharp. Oh, I got like some, I don't know what that is. Some kind of bug there. Let's see. Yeah, but this is a good knife. It's full tang, goes all the way through. And if you can see there, my dog chewed it up. So I'll probably never sell it for that reason. So this one will likely stay with me. And it really, you know, the way he chewed it up made it fit better in my hand. It's like custom chewed by my dog. I wonder if I could make that a marketing angle. Yeah, my dog did a perfect job on it. He just gnarled that. I'm sure that's a really strong material. But it is full tang, which I love, you know, a knife to be full tang like that. If it's going to be a fixed blade, it's got to be full tang. All right, let me get back to business here. I didn't even know if they'd make that thing still work, the whole monetization thing, with the point hooking forward. What are we saying here? Don't scratch the Tolex. Did I scratch it? I don't think I scratched it. I had a saw knife I keep rolling around in the back seat of my truck. Those are pretty sick if you know the kind I'm talking about. Yes, I do. Yeah, those are cool. I have a better Bowie knife somewhere around here that's really sick. Uh, if we're bragging, if we're just going to brag about who's got the better knife, who's got the bigger knife, I think I would win that competition. I know I got bigger knives around here. Where the fuck did all the bigger knives go? Oh, man. It's amazing. Like, you organize something, and then you can't find where anything went. Oh, man. Where did I put it? It's alright, it doesn't matter. It's kind of hot in here. Bring some fresh air in here. Get this extra bolt out here. I'll get this speaker out so we can at least say we did something. Didn't completely waste the time. I have a ProTech Godson. I win. That's pretty badass, huh? I don't know much about that. I got old draw knives from the 1800s. Those are pretty sweet. You can get those cheap on eBay. It's amazing. Get a hand-forged knife from the 1800s for $30. And there's, that stuff is made of better steel. So when you get those vintage knives, vintage tools, it is legitimately better than and superior than what you can buy currently. Now it's getting cold. It's been a hot winter. It really has been dry and hot, almost eerily so. But it's finally, maybe just starting to feel like it could drop down in temp. I don't know. We'll see. It's not going to be a white Christmas, though. It's not a white Christmas. It's not an illegal immigrant Christmas in America, I guess, right now. It's not a Trump Christmas. I don't think Trump's having a great time with all these files. Imagine Christmas around the Trump tree's probably getting kind of weird. Unless they're just all actors, right? And they're like, don't even sweat it, man. There'll never be any real consequence. Epstein's out, sitting in the outer lands right now. Man, am I going to have to take the baffle on this to get this out? Or it's one or the other. I'm going to take the reverb tank out, the baffle out, or the chassis to get this speaker out. So I'm going to take the reverb tank out because I think that'll be the easiest. I hope it is. Should slide right out if I do that. Merry Christ Massacre. Ho, ho, ho. Now, of course, again, like a lot of things, right? Because remember when they were saying Obama was lying about his identity and had a fake birth certificate, and Trump was big on that, right? Trump was hitting that hard. Let's just take a little blast to the past here and talk about what was. And there was all these conspiracy theories, man. You'd watch videos for fucking hours. People would be talking about these idiots put layers into the file. These fucking idiots. Here, let me move the mic closer so you can hear me. These idiots put layers into the files. And now we can see where they just put in the data, and this is actually this other dude's birth certificate, and they just manipulated it. And some people be like, man, that is too wild. That is fucking ridiculous. What are you talking about? And then, of course, you get some other motherfucker that'd be like, no, absolutely 100%. We got all the data that, we know who his real father is. We got the picture. We got, they done all the research. And they got this all figured out. And then Trump's sitting there putting fuel on the fire. Yeah, man, it's some fake ass shit. Hey, these are the best actors, right? In the actorverse. They won the awards, maybe even as a private sector actor. Now they're a global stage actor. Because then they're putting out files now, right? Where supposedly there's layers in it or just overlays that they can easily subtract through copy and paste, and they can see everything that they're supposedly not supposed to see, right? That's where we're at. That's what we're buying. What a fucking shit show. What an ass clown fucking gong show. Can't make this up. Can't believe it if I tried to. I mean, that's by design. They're not that stupid. Right? They're definitely not that stupid. All right. That worked. Did I miss anything? No, we're good. We're good. All right. We got the reverb tank out. We got the speaker out. We didn't poke any holes in the Celestion Blue speaker. I'm thankful. I took the back off of that to fit it in a Blues Junior. And now that I got this off, I'll probably put the back on. Okay, that'll work. All right. And then I'm going to put this one in, which is the original, so I can get rid of this amp. Sounds a little Idaho 4. And so many do not see it. Files or files? It's a silver Christmas. Protein is a higher end auto company primarily. Oh, Protec. Protein? Okay. Goes full length the knife through the handle. I don't know what you're all saying. It's all BS. Yeah, many do not see it. They don't want to see it. Because then it's too painful to see that it's all just such a racket. And we're all going to, we're all going to have to ride this out and actually see see where this goes, because again, what influence do you have? What control do you have? But like Powder Dusty keeps talking about silver going through the roof. And I know there's a lot of fundamentals as to why that is. But I think a big reason that that's happening also, that people are not maybe acknowledging as much, that could be, look, I understand there's fundamentals of silver that have made it suppressed for decades. So there's that bouncy ball effect where something that's pressed underwater so long, if the market manipulators take their hands off it, poof, right? It's going to go straight up. So there's a lot of speculation that that's why it's happening, of course. It's just a timing thing. You can say it's all these fundamentals or whatever, but it's really just the manipulation of JP Morgan and these banks or whatever. They're not. I think also a big reason it's happening is because of the Epstein files. What's happening with the just the people? Look, there are people that have held on with faith forever that it's going to work out and we're going to have kumbaya and America's not corrupt and we're not, Trump's going to solve it. And look, I would have been glad if Trump would have done the right thing here on a lot of these things, but this pops a lot of those people's bubbles. I'm not a righty or a lefty. I don't have faith. I think it's a totally rigged game. I'm not saying that they don't have good ideas on both sides sometimes. They do. That's all fine and dandy. Usually those good ideas are the ones they don't actually do anything with. And that's why we keep going further down the road of our own demise, which is unfortunate. But the whole thing with these files, it's like that's way too mainstream. It's like they purposefully want to pop the people's bubble to shake them out of their delusion, to see, like, do you still have any concept of discernment here of what, are you really going to still just think that just playing the par for the course game is the solution to these problems, and that they're just going to vote another person in to represent them and we're all, it's going to be great. Like that's going to work for you. Nah, World Doter. But so I wouldn't be surprised if there's a short squeeze or something with silver where they're trying to catch people at this point. In my mind, it seems like $50 is where it will settle out. Like, it may go down below that to like 35 and then it'll pop back up to 50 or something and stay there for probably years. But I know people say that the wheels are coming off the cart. No, it's going straight to 200. Who knows? I mean, I don't think you can really know. I think it's a gambling game at this point. Eventually, fundamentals will kick in, but are we at that point? Man, they could string that shit out for 3 more generations. If the people are as duped as they seem to be, we'll be sitting here 30 years from now going the same old fucking ass clown gong show. What's changed? I might tighten it up just a little bit. Oh yeah, I can't get on it with that. I'm going to have to do it with my hand. It's good anyway. That way I don't over tighten it. Yeah, there we go. Land and networking, silver and gold. I guess, man. I never saw it. Look, what is to stop the government with all the power they have and control now of our day-to-day? What is to stop them from just saying, hey, we're putting a 90% capital gain on your silver and gold? Sorry, that's just the way it is. And to prop up the real estate market, anyone that takes it and puts it into silver and gold now will get this kind of capital gains. I mean, all I'm saying is they can manipulate the market any way they want to. There's all kinds of things they can do to incentivize you to give up whatever you're stacking or whatever you're storing. I mean, they could do it with guitars tomorrow if they really wanted to. That cash for clunkers. When you have managed markets, the government can essentially do, until they can't anymore, of course, until it no longer has faith of the general public and the confidence is blown. But up until that point, they can incentivize fucking dildos if they want tomorrow. They could tell you, go out and, everyone that buys a dildo between now and the end of the year is going to get a 20% reduction on their fucking taxes. Do you think Max Vision's going to go out and buy another dildo even though he's bought a dildo every day this month? He's going to go buy a couple just to make sure he's doing it right. And I don't blame him. I'd be at the store and I'd be like, Max, there you are. We're buying dildos. Who'd have thought, 20% reduction. Managed markets. Until it doesn't work, they'll give you all the reason in the world to take the gold out of your hands if that's what is in the best interest of the government. They just haven't got to that point yet. So I'm not telling people what to do. I don't care. But at $70 silver, holy shit, to run out and buy $70 silver. Could it go to 200 though? Yeah, of course. We have no control over it. It's managed markets. It's manipulated. Could they bounce it to 200, before the end of the year? In the next 5 days, and then have it drop all the way back down to 100. And then people are psychologically thinking 100 is a good deal. And then it goes up to 130, and then it drops to 75 again. Then it drops down to 30 and sits there for 10 years. I mean, silver kind of does that shit, historically. Yeah, invest in fake boobs. Max is onto something. I got to make sure I put these back on the right way because this will definitely not be good for my reverb if I don't. What did I just do wrong here? I got the cord sticking out the wrong way. Yeah, I should do this better so y'all can see what I'm working on. I think I will improve it. So when I do these type of talks, no, that was right. It just needs to go up like that. Oh yeah, it goes this way. That's why. And then that. No, that's not the way it goes. It goes this way for sure. Okay, so it just needs to slide through there and then just like that. And then that'll bolt to the side. All right. We're in better shape. But I could make the video or the picture a lot better. And that wouldn't be a bad thing. I don't have a great signal out here though. And that's just always going to be an issue. I'm not going to buy Starlink. Not until it comes way down. I mean, if Starlink was $40 a month, and that could be short-sighted too, because I could start grifting hard on here, and if I could make, $5,000 a month grifting on here like Powdered Dusty, then who cares about the $100 for Starlink? Then I'm the idiot, right? Inflation or money laundering? Well, then what is money and where is it being laundered? Are we talking about fiat notes, or are they laundering the gold and silver to China, basically? While China, maintains being the number one producer, but also not selling any. I mean, it's both, right? The fiat notes are definitely getting, more and more of them are getting placed in the hands of people that seem to be power hungry. Oh, man. Let me look at this here. There, you guys can see we got it all fixed up now. I just got to get this on the right one, of course. And there should, oh, the negative is right here. And the positive's right here. I'm going to do these ones down here. I like that better. Okay. Alrighty. Put the back on here and we'll call it good. I should have this light over more so I can see. But one thing all people will always ask you, a formality that you run into everywhere you go, right, is what do you do? What do you do? I didn't lose one of these, did I? No, okay, those two didn't have it. And there's 3 there. Well, it looks like I got 1 extra. How'd that happen? That don't make any sense. And it used to be back in the day, maybe you'd have pride in some of these different careers or whatever, right? But I think nowadays, like, the people that really have pride are the roofers, people that actually still do shit and do it well. But, you know, in my experience, even people that fucking sell guitars, you know, it's like, if it's anything bigger than a little boutique company with 7 or 8 guys or something that still got a love for the game and really, you know, are doing it for the right reasons, it always turns into a ball crunching, number crunching shit show of idiots and their pie in the sky ideas of how they're going to create more bottom line profits, and they just end up selling out the love of what you're doing for cutting corners. And I mean, there are exceptions. Like, there really are exceptions. I can't say that across the board. There are some bigger companies that do good stuff. But boy, man, the bigger they get, it seems like the more they suck, you know? And I'm not even going to mention names. I'm just saying, it's like the best stuff, the bigger they get, the more they produce something that is not a legacy. It's not an heirloom. It's not going to be handed down. It's going to end up in a landfill. And as it should. There's nothing. I'm such a fucking idiot. I put this in completely wrong. I knew I was doing something stupid there. Yeah, it's interesting that it is that way, though. You know, it's sad, but it's like, so anything that gets scaled up essentially loses the heart once it has too many hands in the pie. Once too many people are involved, it's going to lose something. And where that defining point is, it happens, I don't even think there's a line of demarcation. It's just a slow, gradual decline into a state of patheticness. Where all of a sudden, you know, you're like selling the most of a category and yet it's the least desirable, or it's a slime bag way of doing things. But I think a lot of it is the Chinese crap, you know, that helps do that to the corporation, because Guitars is a great example. All these Gibsons and all this shit that is coming in, that it really is not the brand that's being put on the headstock. It's not what it's being presented to be. I mean, you could argue there's an artistic value, but now they're doing it to where they're pretty damn fucking good. And if you know a little bit about setting a guitar up, like for example, 15 years ago, Fender would put out a Bullet, and maybe 1 out of 20 you'd find one for whatever reason that'd be like really good. But most of them were, there'd be a lot of shitty ones. And that was like a $99 guitar. The price has not went up on these cheap guitars, especially the no-namer ones. And now they're like all pretty decent. They're good. I've looked at a number of Gibsons and been like, man, I'm going to go buy one. I haven't done it because I'd rather see if I can get a manufacturer to give me one, and then I'll just do it as a project on here. I think that's kind of a vision for doing this, is that if there are guitar manufacturers or luthier tool manufacturers or parts companies that can get past the fact that I'm a arrogant, bloviating bastard with an opinion that won't shut his mouth, and we can just, agree or agree to disagree depending on whatever the subject matter is. But I'm just here going to talk my shit while I work on my stuff. And if I could get better and faster at doing this, I think that would be a good mix for me. I don't know if it'd be a good mix for y'all, but I think I could do that and still get off the stream and feel like, I didn't just totally fuck off and waste my goddamn existence staring into the black box. I simultaneously accomplished something and did something that I needed to check off anyway. I could roll with that, And I'm not one that wants to sit there and govern what I'm saying and act like I can just talk for a while and only talk about screws and bolts and specs and schematics and who makes the best fucking tube for your 65 Princeton. It's a JJ. Their 12AX7's great, right? No. I don't know. I can't do it. So that puts you in a certain category. But I can't find that the idea of doing a panel and just getting up and being a slave to a bunch of other people's opinions where they're just going to sit there and own my time, even if I'm paid well for it. I just can't see doing it. I have too much desire to do other things while I'm on panels. And that's why oftentimes, man, I won't go on them for a while, because I start getting behind my my list of shit I want to get done, and that starts feeling overwhelming to me. I don't like living that way. So I'll just woodshed and start checking stuff off. Literally woodshed. And that's just it's a more fulfilling way to go about things. So maybe I can do that. Maybe I can get better at fixing shit while I talk. Because I think I'm kind of slow and scattered and probably shouldn't have taken a hit of the CBD. But, the ZBDs. Maybe I had too much tea. And I think tea is boring as fuck. Like, who starts a tea channel? I did it for like 5 seconds. I got a tea channel. I'd love to sell you guys fucking tea. I'd love to monetize the fuck out of you guys with tea. I'm telling you. Because, you know why? Because I would sell you shit that would make your life better, and you'd be happy, and you'd enjoy the fuck out of it. You'd thank me. If I could get you to separate from your fiat notes to throw me fiat notes to buy tea. But I don't think my demographic of who I talk to is really tea. I'd have to do the Facebook ads, double down, bring in an entourage of normies, that would all reject me, but there'd be like that 1% that would be the most ultra dedicated customers because they were looking to be found. And that's like me, right? I had no idea I needed tea the way I did or wanted it the way I did. And once I discovered everything about it, not just the leaf, not just the process, not just the feeling, the sensation, the health benefits, everything. Not just the inspirational qualities and the, mind expansion qualities. Not just the super hard dick that every day starts with in my existence, rock hard, ready to go. Not just the blood thinning qualities that when you live at high elevation are kind of needed. You have to look at your diet and figure out, how can I get my lymphatic system moving better? Because as you age out here, it's almost inevitable. People get up over 70 when you're past 9, 10K elevation. You're going to have problems. It's just a matter of if you can stay in your environment or not. And many can't. They just have to leave. They got to go to sea level. Dude, you are such a prime suspect to be a tea whore, Max Vision. Worse than me. I mean, I can't believe you don't drink tea already. If I just talked to you for a little bit, I would say, yeah, this guy probably has a Gaiwan. Not a small Spanish guy that he controls in his closet, but a small cup. And you're doing some kind of ritual with the leaf. The leaf is great, man. It's fantastic. I think you should take the deep dive into the tea journey. God, man, there's sometimes when I see guys like Max, I'm like, I would just fund it. It's worth it, man. I'd change your life. You'd be 6 months in and you'd be indebted to me for life, basically. So I could own you through tea just by kind of funding that process, getting you so far, so deep into it. Oh, there's another one. Yeah, Dick T. What was somebody saying, boy? You have the very tiny. You do have them, so you're ready to go. 1-to-1. You do have them. Dick T. What was the other one? Oh, somebody had a great one. In my day-to-day life, somebody came up with one because I was saying that. I wouldn't do Dick Tea, and here's the reason why. Dick Tea is too low of hanging fruit. No pun intended. Right? The Dick Tea, for me, is just capitulating to the enemy. Because I thought about it before. In fact, I even made ball sack tea bags as prototypes just to help people who wanted to teabag themselves or teabag, a family member for Christmas or wherever you wanted to employ this practical joke gag gift, of course. And then I thought, this is what my life will become. I'll be the Dick T guy. People will know me. I'll be tremendously successful. And then people will say at the end of my life, what did you do with your life? Like, I sold a gag gift of Dick Tea bags. I became a meme of sorts for my own insatiable need to monetize myself at any cost. Even though I was a tea aficionado, I was a tea savant, I was a tea extraordinaire, and I couldn't take the humble path of earning it the right way, step by step, brick by brick, to maybe even experience some well-due validation for my exceptional teaism within my later years, or to not at all, to be willing to go without any recognition, but to just do the good work and to do it with integrity and not need to try to make some weird perverted twist on it to try to get you guys to engage, to where then nobody takes my tea seriously anyway. It's Dick Tea. What the fuck do I want to drink Dick Tea for every day? Eventually someone's going to wake up And no matter how good my tea is, they're going to be drinking it and going, I'm not going to drink this guy's perverted, disgusting dick tea blend. The problem is his wife will keep drinking it. And she'll be more satisfied than she's ever been. And she'll say, Dick tea pleases me in the way that you can't, honey. So dick tea bagging is a part of my life now. And then I won't be able to stop selling it. So I just become kind of a like white knighting tea simp for the women. You know, I just have tons of beautiful women around me just begging for my dick tea, while all the men have lost respect for me for what I did. You know, I'm not willing to lose the basic camaraderie of my brother. No gay, nothing like that. I'm just saying. This is failed comedy, folks. We're gonna do it. We're going into the failed comedy hour. All right, here, I'll be right back. I gotta check a couple things. Give me 1 second. Dick tease. It's just a dick tease. That's all it is. I'm making a dick tease on my dick tease. Maybe I'll take my tea company, which I've started but I haven't done anything yet with, and I'll make dick tea one of the blends, so that people that are desperate for the dick tea, they can procure some from me. And I'll make dick tea an appropriate flavored tea, you know, for all you that really want it. It'll deliver. You won't be unsatisfied. But it's not, I'm not going to lean on that as my only, you know, way forward of branding, is that I have to be under some kind of identity of, I had no further creativity beyond just like cringe kind of dick jokes for the rest of my days. And then coincidingly combining that with tea, that's no. If Cage wants to take that and run with it, I'm sure it'll be profitable. I may look back and go, man, it's a fucking $5 million, nope, $500 million tea company now. This Dick Tease. Now you gotta pay me for it. I came up with it first. It's all on record. I did the ball sacks on the YouTube, so you can't take that away from me. As disgusting as it was, I was experimenting. It was like I was trying to be comical. I was trying to make people laugh, which is a noble, altruistic purpose for your time. I mean, if you genuinely just want to make people laugh and that's really all you're trying to do, yeah, it's ego driven. You want, you're doing it to also show you can bring people to that place of joy. But that self-satisfaction is reciprocal. I mean, it's a loop of satisfaction if you could actually make someone laugh. That's why the Chris Farleys are literally and proverbially the giants of this realm, because they sacrifice themselves to make people laugh. they cared that much about just bringing some joy to the moment that they didn't even care what, you know, that meant for, to the point where that reversed and backfired too, and it created a bunch of uh, affinity towards those characters, right? But not necessarily always at the outset. Alrighty, I think we're done here, folks. We got this. We can move on. I guess I should test it out just to be sure. Yeah, the light's blown out on this too. I'm gonna have to replace that. Fuck, that thing sounds better with the original speaker than as far as I remember. Sounds better than it did with the Celestion. Damn. It's a good sounding amp. Yeah, it was spanky, huh? With that telly, you could really hear that little slap in there. The sad clown phenomenon. Dime it! We're in the Grey Poupon commercial. Wow, random fucking fan. You don't sound like a very good random fucking fan. As far as I can tell. Most music stores closed the same day, it seemed here. What are we talking about there? That's interesting to me. Isn't it Brian that cannot fulfill their requests? Britain for silver certificates? Is that happening? I didn't know about that. See, I mean, I'm not that informed, I guess. The grifting grower. I was Fraudum grower for a while, or at least that's how I was characterized. I think there's been a freedom blower. Let's see here. I know there's another one in there. Freedom blower, freedom. I like Fraudum blower. I think Fraudum blower is the best. Man, that fucking Fraudum blower. He's such a clucktard. Inflation or money laundering? Okay, so yeah, you guys are on it. Hasta luego. Yeah. Peace, love, and a basket full of kind. I'm at a loss now, folks. We're out of things to do here. What else did I need to do at this point? I'm waiting for a tool. I guess I'll just give the final update on this. I'll bring my press over. We'll put a light on. I'll shine this light this way. Let's see if you can see this here. This is what we're working on now. As soon as I get the rest of this. So I got this neck. I have a 9.5 inch skyscraper radius block. And I'm going to use this just because this is just a square neck. And I think it was already at 9.5. And being kind of a novice, I figure it'll just be more reliable to really try to go with something close to what it was, but hopefully get it a lot more perfect. And one thing I'm contemplating, I just think devil's always in the details. Like, I have sandpaper that's 11 inches long, and I could cut the extra piece and just lay them together. But there would be that little seam. I'm sure it wouldn't mess with anything. But I'd rather have just one seamless piece of sandpaper before I do it. So I'm going to see if I can source that. I don't know if I'm being an idiot in that and it's actually not that big of an issue. But to me, it seems like if this was all just one piece, that would be better. So I got to look into that. Or I could use this smaller one, which I have sandpaper to fit it. And once I get that on there, I could, I'll glue this to painter's tape on here. That way nothing goes onto this. And I can easily just tear the sandpaper off. And so that'll adhere to it nicely. And then I got all the grits already. But then what that requires is I have to get different tools because my fret wire is pre-radius to 9.5. Now, will it make a difference to go to 10 when I go in? probably maybe to most people know, I don't know. But all I know is even though I'm not great at experience on this, I do know what I want to do, which is to do it really well and to get to where I can just press these in with extreme precision. I want it to be very robotic in that sense that everything's predictable. I want frets that are bent perfectly. I want a fretboard that's supported perfectly. That's why I'm bought the call and the press, drilled all that out so I'd have more control. And I'm gonna put this on some legs so that I can move it up and down, so I can really get perfectly level when I'm working with the neck. And not trying to reinvent the wheel, just stuff I'm learning from YouTube videos. But at the same time, I can see how you could do, to me, what it looks like the more I research this, you could do like 95% of your shit right, and then the 5% you don't do right fucks up the job. And so these little things, and then all of a sudden you're having to file and level and crown and polish your frets, which is just taking you hours. If you're not setting them correctly, you're spending all kinds of energy, trying to ascertain what's actually wrong. So I want to mitigate as much of those problems as humanly possible as I go about this hobby kind of thing here, so that I can really make sure the time I spend, I got the most potential of doing a good job. Because a couple things. In my mind, I still like nickel frets better. They're softer. They're just what I'm used to playing. Maybe after I play stainless steel long enough, I have two guitars that have stainless steel at this point. Maybe after I play it long enough, one of them's a Suhr, and that guitar, it plays like glass. It's perfect. I'm not used to that, and I kind of like the struggle that these guitars that have more of a traditional feel have. I just like them set up as perfect as can be with the nickel frets. But what I'm tempted to try, and I'll just sum this up again, is putting a stainless steel 0 fret, which takes the wear off all the nickel frets, so you get a lot of the attributes of extreme long life, where you're not having to refret all the time if you're a heavy player. But you also, don't compromise having the material be nickel for your primary fret that you're playing on. That to me sounds like the sweet spot. Whether you like 0 frets or not, I mean, that to me is where I'm going, okay, I can have my cake and eat it too. So that's what I'm like pointing to that I want to be able to do, but I just want to get a few normal fret jobs under my belt with a 9.5-inch radius. I feel like I should do this one first, just because that's more traditional. That's what you're seeing everywhere. I'm just kind of recreating what's already on the board anyway, getting it nice and even. I got some chips in this board. I really want to get this thing playing. Now, it's not very thick. And as far as the top they put on that, I haven't done any sanding at all at this point, except for I threw a nice level block plane on it, block sander, and I just kind of got the veneer off that was on there. But I didn't do it enough to change the radius at all. You can still see the radius down the neck on it. But it's a sweet little Squier neck, and it's not in bad shape. And I don't think it's moved much since it's been off, which is nice. I mean, it seems real stable. It adjusted well. So for a cheap piece of crap neck, I think it'll be fun to work on. And then as soon as I'm done with this one, I got an acoustic project, which is up here. And I'm going to do that next. know, maybe I'll get into producing guitar videos because I've thought about that, just doing more like A/B comparisons and stuff like that. I am going to do a few, but maybe I'll try to get good at it. This is an Alvarez, and boy, does it have high action. I mean, it's like it's a big old ski slope. It's in terrible shape. Colorado has taken a toll on this acoustic and given it pain. So yeah, we're going to tinker with that. We're going to see, can we improve on this a bit? Can we, it's got a crack in it. You can see right there's a crack. I'm going to see if I can fix that better. If anything, I won't even fix it. I'll just finish it better. Get some real fine grit microfiber cloth on it. Polish it up. Yeah. Anyway, I'm going to get out of here, but that'll be my goal if I do these things. I'm just going to try to get better at communicating while working. And maybe I'll even look at some ways to practice that, or what I can do to, I guess strategy would help, right? To have a little more focus before I come on the stream of what I'm going to talk about. That way, if I get off track, I can kind of look at my main key points. Or I could just do a panel and have a bunch of panel tards come up and spurg. And then they're like, what are you here for? Well, I just wanted to get paid while I work. And I'm giving you guys a place to